Hello there and welcome back to another review. So after making Universal Soldier and before making the massive blockbuster that was Independence Day, Roland Emmerich made a little movie called Stargate, made back in 1994 and starring James Spader and Kurt Russell. Now this was a film at the time of its release that I didn't have much interest in. I remember when it came out, but it's one of them movies I think I caught on TV like a year later or so, and I think I always remember the thing I always remembered about watching this movie the first time was like how little I was I think it was one of the first instances I remember Kurt Russell sort of playing a hard, serious, moody character, because I was quite young at the time. I was probably 94, like 8-9 years old at the time, because up to that point I'd only seen him in films like Big Trouble in Little China or like Overboard with Goldie Hawn, so I was used to Kurt Russell being that funny, kind of cheeky kind of guy. But the Stargate, I remember watching, because it's like, okay, Kurt Russell's being serious here. So seeing him in this almost like serious, like one-dimensional role might have been sort of what put me off the film initially, because obviously, growing up, Big Trouble in Little China, even to this day, is still one of my most favourite fun movies of all time. So I think initially this might have been what put me off, but having seen the film multiple times since, there's a lot to be said about Stargate. For one thing, with this movie, the plot idea about this device that can travel people to other dimensions and places in the universe, throwing in a bit of some Indiana Jones, a dab of sort of that Spielberg-esque type touches, bit of dances with wolves and sci-fi elements, and you have a real mixture of a movie. Now, I love the plot of this movie. The idea sort of extraterrestrials having impact and influences over civilization is quite an interesting idea, and for the most part the film handles that premise and setup quite well. But it's one of them movies that for everything it gets right, it still gets a few things wrong. Like, it's not a perfect movie. Obviously, the film went on to inspire the TV series and things like that, but for me personally, to say the film is like a perfect movie, it's not. As I say, I think it stumbles here and there, and it's one of them movies that I say is by no means a classic and must see, but there's still moments to enjoy throughout the movie, even if in places it isn't consistent. And it's one of them films that looks like it promises so much, like the setup is there and it's all in the right place, but sometimes the film stalls and the promised spectacle that Stargate sort of sets out to achieve never actually arrives, unfortunately. James Spader, for the most part, saves the movie, as without him I think we as an audience would have no one to sort of hang on to and root for as the film went on. As I say, Kurt Russell is very straight to the point, and in this movie the supporting cast are largely forgettable, and to be honest, as I say, without James Spader's sort of character, the film would pretty much be it would be almost forgotten about. I'm not hating on the movie. This is still a great escapist entertainment. It's well known both that Spader and Russell found the script awful. I think it's on record that they did find the script absolutely awful, and yes, it isn't the best. There's nothing wrong with actors taking a role just for the money, is there? It's interesting to know, I think Rick Moranis was the original choice for the James Spader character, but he opted instead to do the Flintstones. Not sure really what would have been the better choice. So anyway, we have wormholes, we have ancient dimensions, we have special effects, we have aliens, we have soldiers, you name it. And so why does the film, for the most part, lack any serious momentum? I think it's very much, if you've never seen it before, it's one of the movies you'll probably enjoy it a lot more the second time round. It's one of the, once you know what the film has to offer. If talking about plus points and pros for the film, it has a really great score. It looks great. The movie is played very, very family friendly, and it's a great idea too, with so much potential. It's just a shame the film doesn't tap into that potential that it promises fully. But full credit should be given to the filmmakers, not for making it just another special effects movie and just another alien movie. There's a real effort here to make it different and set it apart from what had come before, and to that end Stargate sort of for the most part does succeed. I just always felt through the film it should have been, with Stargate, it always felt to me like it should have been a hell of a lot more exciting than what it actually is. You know, like I say, everything's in place. Everything's there. The story, everything is in place. The characters, what's going to happen, the aliens, the dimensions, the time travel, everything. It's all there. But it just doesn't quite hit the mark with the promise that and the setup that is like in place. As I say, the two things I always took from this movie was the rousing theme and Kurt Russell's haircut as well. So the film opens in Geyser in like 1928, where some people have uncovered this giant circular object like a dig, and then we sort of flash forward to 1994, and Spader as Daniel Jackson is given a lecture saying that he doesn't believe the pharaohs built the pyramids. Then this old woman turns up and she wants to get him to translate some ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, and he is like an Egyptologist, if you hadn't guessed, right? And she like knows everything about him. Then we meet O'Neill Russell's character, who is sitting at home holding a gun, mourning the loss of his son, which is quite like a macabre entry point for the character. But I guess the idea is to give him some sort of character arc and redemption by the end of the movie. Just have to love that short blonde hair Barnett though. So once at the base and like location, of course, Jackson can translate everything in this huge tablet in a matter of seconds, right? Then O'Neill sort of takes over the operation. I'm here in case you succeed, being one of the lines he utters. Jackson figures the language that of like star constellations, and they show him the real Stargate, which they had to change from black during production. I think it was like they had to change it from black during production, as apparently it looked like a massive tire. It just like, so this big circular is like, you know, just like, I think they had to change the colouring of it because it just looked like a massive great big tire. All this all this bit though actually interesting and fun does move by so quickly, as Jackson is such a genius. He can just basically solve everything, right? He can solve it so quick. Like he talks like of 7 symbols and he finds the 7th like really quick. Then the film just gets ramped up very quickly, and the pace kicks in, and you think, oh, it's going to be that kind of movie. But Stargate unfortunately does slow down a hell of a lot. Sort of the gate opens, they send in a probe, and what is interesting actually, the effects have remained the effects in this movie remain pretty okay-ish. They remind me a bit of actually The Abyss from James Cameron. So the military and people in charge are like, we need someone to decipher the gate on the other side, and no sooner can you say smart Alec Egyptologist than Jackson says he can do it, which, you know, I think we sort of knew that was coming. It's like, we need somebody who can translate this. Who fixed that bill? Well, Jackson does, which puts him on the team that's going through the gate basically. And the old lady gives him a pendant for luck. Oh, but in case that she's like the daughter of the guy who found the gate at the beginning, you know, whatever. So literally, like the very next scene, they're going through, right? No, again, the pacing up to this point is fine. It's fine. So there's no prep time, no dialogue beforehand. Literally all about to just walk through. Now, if this film would have been made now, this would have been dragged out on and on and on, and probably they wouldn't have gone through the gate much before like the an hour mark, you know, because like films nowadays, they have to be as long as possible. So I have to give credit there where the filmmakers Roland Emmerich is like, no, let's just go through. We don't need a prep. We don't need any of these people saying goodbye to their families or anything like that. Like, let's just like get the gear on, right? They're going through, and that's it. Wouldn't oxygen tanks might have been a good idea in case where they're travelling to in the universe and galaxy there was no oxygen. Some of the music cues here do sound a bit like they do. I'm talking about the music. I know it's got a great score, like I mentioned, but some of it, there are segments, little moments where it does sound a bit like You Only Live Twice to me. Probably just me anyway. So they go through the gate, all quite cool, a bit like Field of Dreams in a way. It's just the sci-fi version. So once they go through, Spader is like, I need more info to decipher the thing. Kurt's team are like super PO'd with him, thinking they're stuck. So the film gone from Indiana Jones with sci-fi, and now we're through into like some Star Wars where he finds these like Bamford type creatures, and after just like killing time, they arrive in this bland, boring desert. They find this like sort of slave labour camp, and that is what is so annoying about that initial arrival. All this sense of wonder, all this sense of spectacle to arrive at a desert. You know, you think the way they build it up, we're going somewhere absolutely amazing. This is going to be far beyond your imagination. And they just arrive at a desert, you know. So when they get there, I remember watching the first time when I was younger and I was a bit, oh. And that's when I initially started to sort of not get bored in the movie, but I sort of zoned out a little bit for a few minutes, because it's like, oh, that's it. You know, great, mountains of sand. So because of like Jackson's pendant, they all sort of bow to him, and this is where the build-up, like I say, doesn't overly pay off, as the film totally and utterly slows down at this point. Up to this point, as I mentioned, the pacing has been fine. Like, it's been really good. You get sucked in. Where are we going? We're going through the Stargate. Boom, boom, boom. But this is when the film just comes to an almost grinding halt for quite a while. So the material these people are mining is the same as the Stargate. Jackson gives them some chocolate, and one of the females has a bit like a thing for him, and you know, I see a love interest coming. So Kurt's team, who are left behind, have to abandon their setup as there is like a sandstorm. Then we have like this whole like feast and party going on. Spader writes in the sand, and the girl recognises like the symbol he draws, but writing is forbidden, but this is the only way they can sort of like communicate. Then we get some intrigue when this like flying pyramid lands on top of like this other pyramid, and Kurt's team, like, they're in the one below. And it's about time too at this point. We needed something, as up until now there's been sort of no real threat or urgency or even antagonist in the movie. Like, there's no villain really as such up to this point. Their team, like, then they get ambushed by this like Egyptian cyber dude, right? So now things are moving, now things are happening. O'Neill starts to bond with one of the young boys as they sort of share a smoke together, and the girl shows Jackson a tomb with some symbols. Then we get some backstory that this dying alien Ra took over this boy when he found Earth and appointed himself ruler, and this mineral they dig for is like his technology. And there was like a rebellion on Earth where they buried the Stargate. Won't go mad with the plot. Ra is basically a bad alien guy, is all you need to know. That's all like you need to know to get you through the movie. So they discover this giant lit up pyramid, and some of O'Neill's team like get wiped out. Usual thing, they get slaughtered, but our two main leads are spared. Go figure. Twist of the tale is there was a bomb that Kurt Russell was going to detonate, which Ra has taken. I mean, okay, not all his team are killed, as some are captive, and O'Neill gets thrown in this like pool of water with them. This point we go sort of Star Wars again, with Ra sending out sort of some TIE fighters to assault the village to punish them, and the Elders blaming all this on the fact they helped these sort of new strangers like Spader and Cruz. So Spader can now speak fluently with Ra, right, who is like super PO'd. They reopen the gate, and he is going to send the bomb back through the gate with some of these minerals, which will increase its power, and just for good measure informs them that he created our civilization. So Ra wants Jackson to kill O'Neill, but wouldn't you know it, the villagers have like sort of the villagers have loads of machine guns, and like a skirmish breaks out. So it's all kicking off at this point, and then it just sort of stops when they go to this cave. We learn how O'Neill was to like blow up the gate if there was any hostiles, which his team didn't know about, right? So that was like Kurt Russell's mission. He was tasked with sort of like, if there are hostiles, you know, it might have been a one-way ticket for him. Like, he'd have to blow up the gate, and you know, if there were hostiles on the other side. But as I say, it's all kicking off at this point. It's all going on. We have these kind of like kids like sort of bonding with our team, much like it's sort of like the Ewoks in Jedi. Like there's quite a bit borrowed from Star Wars in this. So Ra is like this power gauntlet that used to punish one of these men for letting them escape. And as I say, it's one of them movies where the premise is awesome, but a lot of the time the film doesn't know what it wants to do with itself, and in many ways it's actually quite a chilled watch. Like I say, especially when they arrive, it's so sort of laid back, like the urgency and what's at stake. You wouldn't even think there was anything at stake at all. So Jackson kisses the girl, and Randy again finds the seventh symbol, and I have to love how like the locals have like 100 guns now. right? They have like so much weaponry at this point, and Spader has picked up the dialect like so quick, and at this point in the movie it just becomes like a shoot 'em up, right? It just becomes like this random shoot 'em up where they storm this pyramid. Anyway, it's about this bomb. They get the bomb back. Russell arms it, and like the girl gets shot, but luckily Ra is this like healing pod that they put the girl in. Have a scene too where one of the villagers, and we have no idea who he is, gets shot to pieces. So, you know, okay. So it's all going on. Ra wants to send the bomb through. Kurt is giving out a beatdown. We have people shooting TIE fighters with guns. And it's just all going on. So I have to love the line. There is, like talking about funny lines before the kill, and there's loads of badasses do in movies. I think he says give my regards to King Tut, arsehole, which I thought, quite, I didn't think that was a bad one. But the whole film really at its core is just like I say, the Ewoks and Jedi, as I say, it's like a rebellion movie more than an alien space travel special effects movie. So Ra is like, F this, I'm off, right? They teleport the bomb to his floating pyramid, and real shame you don't get to see more of Ra. You don't get to see more of Ra in his true form. So the locals rejoice, the rousing score kicks in, everyone is happy. Kirk has like a redemption when he says he's going to be okay. Jackson wants to stay and like where he is in this dimension, and like basically that's the end. And I'm pretty sure that would have easily been the setup for a second or third movie, which I think was the original plan. I think they were going to do 2 or 3 movies with this. Probably, I don't know if there's another Stargate movie coming or in the works, I don't know. But let me know what you think of Stargate. I mean, please, I say, this is just my opinion. I know there are loads of fans of this movie, and I know people absolutely do love and adore this movie. But I'm just talking about it. I watched it again recently, and I'm talking about it sort of my thoughts and opinions of when I first saw it, and I just, like I say, I enjoyed it. I just felt very let down by it, and like I say, when you watch this again now, it does borrow quite a lot from, as I say, it's definitely got that Spielberg sort of, you can tell it's going for like sort of mass entertainment here, but loads borrowed from sort of Indiana Jones, loads sort of borrowed from Star Wars, but at the same time, it is quite original. Like I say, the setup and premise is great. I just think, unfortunately, it doesn't, for everything it promises and sets up, the payoff isn't always 100%, and it doesn't always totally work, but it's still all a very enjoyable movie. So if you have seen Stargate, let me know what you think of it. Was you let down by it? Is it a favourite of one of your favourite movies? Make sure to let me know. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.